Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
Okay, I want to talk about a very difficult way that people will misuse the trowel, essentially to try and fix problems or make things better that actually kind of tend to make them worse. And so this is cheering people up. Now, if you're like me, being present in the room with somebody who's upset is outrageously difficult. You tend to empathize, and it feels awful to just be there in the room with somebody behaving in a way that maybe you're not used to, or it just in generally makes you uncomfortable. We as people are wired to essentially note people's emotional states and conditions, and that discomfort that sort of resonates with us is part of how we build tribes and empathy and all this good stuff. The natural response here, just like a mom kind of trying to shush a baby and make them feel better by taking good care and doing the things, is when we see somebody who's upset, is to go shush them. And that kind of, hey, it's going to be okay, and the soothing kind of thing, while it seems helpful at the time, is actually does a couple of really kind of difficult and tough things to undo. First off, it says in a lot of ways, hey, when you're upset, I don't like it, and I don't want to see you upset. Weird, right? Like, it's hard to imagine that way. But if you've been on the inside of those feelings, when someone tries to tell you it's going to be okay, oftentimes that's the last thing you want to hear, because it really doesn't feel okay right now. So when you see somebody who's in this situation where they're having a strong emotional response, they're going through a difficult time, they're grieving, or they're depressed, or things like that, the first action shouldn't be to try and mend the emotional condition that they have. The first response is, look, clearly first response is if you sense that there's a medical emergency pending, right? If the grief lets you, clues you in that they're suicidal in some way, or if you know that you need to go take sort of action because you see a mental health issue emerging, that's a different conversation altogether. There's signs and symptoms for that. Most of them are easy to find on the internet, right? But when it's not that, when it's somebody who's just had a really kind of crummy day, there's this feeling that we want to just kind of make them forget all about it. And sometimes that's okay, but most of the time, you want to make sure that you allow them to have their own feelings. Allowing people to have their own feelings and resonating with those feelings is vitally important. Ways you can do this, which, are accessible, right? You just sit there and say, hey, is it okay if we just sit here? Do you mind if I just sit with you while you're going through this? This works really, really well with teenagers, actually. Teenagers don't want to get fixed. They don't want an adult to come in and make it all better, because oftentimes they don't have the language for what they're feeling. Sometimes just going in the room and sitting near them. Hey, is it cool if I just read my book here? I'd like to be around you while you're, going through whatever it is you're going through. Or is it okay if I sit here and, do whatever it is I need to do? I don't want you to be alone right now. Those kind of sentiments where you allow them to have the emotional response and at the same time still indicate that you want to be nearby and close to them, even when they're going through a difficult emotional time, is huge. And this doesn't work just with teenagers. It works with adults. It works with people, all people. Now, in situations where, sitting with somebody may not feel like sort of an active enough role, you might want to do things like demonstrate care in some other way. There's lots of ways to do this. But again, the important thing isn't to try and band-aid the emotional situation by essentially telling them that what they're feeling isn't sufficient or is in some way something we need to make go away with, let's go out and get a drink and see if we can't cheer you up, or let's go watch a movie and do something else, or let's go, whatever it is, roller skating. Do people even roller skate anymore? Let's go do something else to not experience this. Again, feels helpful, but it really is actually quite the opposite, and it suppresses and makes the emotional blow up when it does happen later even worse. So we'll get into some more of these kinds of things that feel like helping but actually aren't in tomorrow's episode.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at masonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.